Hi guys, Beastly Bird here and welcome to my second video in the Science of Bodybuilding series. In this video, we'll take what we learned from the last video and we're going to build on that and continue our lesson and relate all that information to the muscle cell, and more formally known as the myocyte. Myo is Greek meaning muscle, and cyte is Greek meaning vessel, which has now become synonymous with cell. Now, there's going to be a lot of new concepts here, and I'm going to do my best to explain everything and keep it short and sweet and really make it so it's easier for you guys to go back and watch everything all over again. That way you can better process it and learn it. Now, that being said, you'll probably need to rewatch this one. There's going to be a lot of new stuff here. It's going to look different, and you're probably going to want to take out a pencil and paper. And that reminds me, if you're really committed to learning this stuff, you're going to want to get a piece of paper and pencil. And the reason for that is we learn better when we write things down. We remember things easier. It's that mind-to-muscle memory, and it just helps you remember things, process things easier when you write them down. With all that being said, let's get started. Alrighty, here we are, guys. Welcome. This is the muscle cell, otherwise known as the myocyte. The basics as they relate to bodybuilding. So on the left here is your muscle cell, and as you'll notice, it's completely different than the cell I showed you guys in my first video. And that's my very first thing here. The second thing is there's a lot of additional components. These myofibrils, these fibers. And we're going to talk at large about that later in the video and in other videos. But just know that there's a lot of additional things here that make it a skeletal muscle cell. That's another thing. So there's two other types of muscle cells. There's smooth and cardiac. We're not going to talk about those cells because they don't grow in the same way that the skeletal muscles grow. We voluntarily control skeletal muscle cells with our conscious thoughts. We don't control those other two groups, so we don't have to worry about those. So there's a lot of similar cell components here as well. So everything that wasn't a general cell is here too. It just looks a little bit different. So we'll get into that a little bit later. And these cells are so specialized that the scientific community has decided to give them specialized names. So here are four examples. Cytoplasm is called sarcoplasm. Endoplasmic reticulum is called sarcoplasmic reticulum. Mitochondria is called the sarcosome. And the cell membrane is called sarcolemma. Okay, so here's more of a bigger picture showing you guys. And I like this picture because it shows the bone here, the tendon, and a tendon here is when a muscle connects to a bone. That's when you have a tendon. And I think it's important to talk about these. I call this group like the myceliums. It's just easier for me to remember. There's always three of the myceliums. You're going to have the epimysium, which it's a connective tissue that surrounds the whole muscle, supports it, and protects it. So then within the epimysium, you have smaller groups here. See these? These are individualized groups of bundles, if you have of other muscle fibers. And surrounding those is the perimysium. They surround the bundles there. And then lastly, you have the endomysium, which surrounds individual muscle fibers. The endomysium is not the sarcolemma or cell membrane. It's different. It surrounds, here's a really good example of one. You can see it really good here. That is the endomysium. And when you have groups, the fascicle here is a group of muscle fibers. So this is a myocyte. It's got a bunch of different muscle fibers here, but that's still one cell. When you have a group, then you're going to have a fascicle, which is what I was circling earlier. Alrighty, so this is more of a close-up of the muscle fiber. So you see the nucleus here? We'll talk about that more, but just take note that there's a bunch of those all over these. So the basic building block of a muscle fiber of this is a sarcomere. And this, if you could cut off here and cut off here, that would be a sarcomere. And that is a striation. And those are what the striations are. They are the representation of the sarcomeres lining up. We're going to get into sarcomeres in depth in our next two videos. So don't worry too much about that in this video. Now, as you notice here, the nuclei are long, they're stretched flat, and they're along the interior of the sarcolemma. The reason for that is the muscle cell is so specialized. It needs to make room for all these muscle fibers, so everything kind of squeezes in and kind of fits in between when they can. And the sarcomeres have additional parts, and that's, again, we're going to talk about that more, but that would be the actin and myosin, and we'll talk more about that later. So again, here's a big picture that kind of sums up everything that we talked about. So we'll start with the tendon, which is muscle to bone. Then we got the mysiums, the epi, peri, and the endomysium here. And then these are our muscle fibers here. So you can see the muscle fibers, which is the cell, and they have myofibrils, which are the fiber parts of the muscle fiber. Now, this is also highly vascular here, as you can see. And the reason for that is muscle demands a lot of nutrients, so it needs a lot of O2, and it needs a lot of blood, and all the things it needs to run chemically. So, and there's also a lot of nerves. Now, one thing that's important to learn about the nerves is as you exercise and use that muscle, you're going to develop more nerves. You're going to develop, where is it here, motor neurons. And that's the mind-to-muscle connection. The mind-to-muscle thing is not a philosophy, it's an actual documented thing, whereby working the muscle out, you develop more motor neurons that come into the muscle and make connections so that it can be more efficient. And again, we have the sarcomeres, which are these tiny little things here within that make up the myofibril filaments here. Okay? That's it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked that video, please watch my other ones. Like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Peace. Have a great day.